to be in the NFC East.
So as we put the pick bars up there, Orlovsky's got the Eagles winning that division, and I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Graziano has the Eagles winning the division.
Yeah.
I have the Eagles winning the division. But Tannenbaum, you have been on the Cowboys bandwagon from the very beginning of this summer, and you have not wavered. Why?
They have a really good offense when you think about CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard at 6.2 yards per touch. They have an underrated tight end in Dalton Schultz.
Yep.
And they have an outstanding quarterback in Dak Prescott. And for all the things you guys talk about Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts was 26th in the NFL in completion percentage, and that matters. You also have Dan Quinn, who's only been there for 1 year, and all they did was lead the league in turnovers, and people talk about regressing to the norm, but I think they're going to get better on defense despite losing Randy Gregory, and this offense will get better as they get Michael Gallup back. So they have a quarterback that is head and shoulders above the other three quarterbacks in that division.
Let me get Graz in here. Well, is this based solely on the fact that no one ever repeats as a division
it can't happen.
champ?
It's impossible. It's been 18 years. So, no, I think it can't be the Cowboys because they won it last year. I think the Eagles have a better roster. I mean, you talk about the offensive line. How good are they up front on defense?
Yeah, they're awesome.
I mean, loaded, right? So I think they have the better roster. The question is quarterback. I feel about Jalen Hurts like he's an ascending player, an improving player. I think he will make improvements over what we saw last year and be a better player, which is what he did last year over the year before. I feel like the young man has it inside of him to outperform expectations.
It's also the easiest place in the NFL to play quarterback at this year. I mean, Marcus Spears uses the phrase, the quarterback is insulated. There ain't no one more insulated than Jalen. That's not a knock on Jalen.
No.
It's a credit to the roster that they've quickly turned around in 2 years. This is an offensive line that is the most athletic in football and can play a dominant brand when they want to. He has got two receivers. Again, no one knows, or people don't appreciate how dominant A.J. Brown is. Devontae Smith now in year 2. Miles Sanders staying healthy. Dallas got it. This is an offense that can do whatever it wants. Whatever it wants. You want us to line up in, creative formations and do the zone read 12 times this game? We can. You want us to turn it around and hand it off to Miles Sanders for 8 yards a clip? We can. Fair question. 3rd and 6, 4 times in the game in the fourth quarter. You got to go deliver the football, Jalen Hurts, from within the confines of tackle to tackle. That's fair. I just believe because of the people, it's going to be a lot easier than just saying quarterback's got to do it.
Going all the way back to the beginning of our show today, it's fascinating that the two quarterbacks who I think find themselves in similar make it or break it kind of situations right now were at one time college teammates, and very publicly, one was benched for the other, and Tua and Jalen Hurts. You have Tua in Miami, and now I want to get your take on that here in Philadelphia. It sounds to me like your lack of belief in Hurts is the only thing that holds you back, because I think everyone acknowledges the Eagles look like they're lights out in every other way.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And of those quarterbacks, I would actually take Mac Jones, who's actually there. So when you look at those three quarterbacks for the next 10 years, I would take Mac Jones, who ironically, lost out on the jobs for a couple of years down there. But when you look at specifically Jalen Hurts, he struggled with accuracy at both Oklahoma.
To find a new agent and see if he can get that done. Ludicrously underpaid for his production. It's $7 million each of the next 2 years. Obviously, he's looking for a raise. We'll see if he gets one. He's also been missing time with a hamstring injury. Couple things to watch with Waller as we get closer to the season. Giants backup quarterback Tyrod Taylor, injured in yesterday's preseason game against the Jets, had to leave the game with a back injury. Coach Brian Daboll said after the game that he should be fine. That's a quote. Obviously, they'll continue to seek more information on this, and it's possible the Giants could be in the hunt for a backup quarterback if the injury to Tyrod Taylor is worse than expected. And we're still on Lamar Jackson contract watch. He still does not have his extension. He has said he will cut off negotiations once the regular season begins. That is now 13 days from now for the Baltimore Ravens, so we're keeping a close eye on this situation. One thing to watch, the change to the NFL's preseason schedule in the new CBA, which took effect really last year, means there's more time between the end of the preseason, between roster cuts, and the start of the season. So there's a theory that maybe some of these bigger deals, Quentin Nelson, deals like that, get done during this zone. So we'll figure that out. They've been talking. Whether they get to a deal or not remains a mystery.
So maybe he gets a new contract. And I think all of us are rooting for him to get the deal that he wants. That said, there is the concept of betting on yourself if you don't get the option or the offer that you were looking for. And earlier in this show, and I promised you we would come back to it, you predicted, Dan Orlovsky, that Lamar Jackson is going to be the MVP of the league this year. Why?
Imagine how big the contract's going to be after that.
Right.
Lamar's going to come out and flame this league. 20-1 odds. The disrespect that has been said about him a lot this offseason. The health of not only himself, but the health of his football team. I remind everybody every time I talk about Lamar Jackson, this dude was the MVP of the league last year. Through week 12, they were the #1 seed, and they had the most historically hurt roster in the history of the NFL. The #1 reason is because this organization got back to the roots of it when it comes to Lamar Jackson. They got those 3 tight ends in Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, and their rookie Isaiah Likely. Everyone talks about the wide receivers that are needed. Yeah, whatever. They have a good one in Rashad Bateman. They have an offensive line that added Tyler Linderbaum, and hopefully Ronnie Stanley at left tackle is healthy. But it's those 3 tight ends. In 2019, when he won it, he accounted for 43 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. If they all stay healthy, he is going to match those numbers and exceed the passing yards. Lamar Jackson going to win MVP of the league.
I'm all in on Lamar, but Rashad Bateman's a question mark. Like, they're hoping he turns into a #1. So we keep talking about the lack of weapons, be it in Tampa, Dallas. It's the same question with Baltimore. I love Lamar Jackson, but unless you have something to worry about outside, you know this, Dan, as a quarterback, you could funnel your safeties more to those tight ends, and they're less effective.
Well, so let me make sure I'm clear on what you're saying. Because it sounds to me, Dan Orlovsky, like you're saying that for all this talk that comes from the outside about how they need to expand their passing game and make it more sophisticated, make it more whatever it is that it isn't. Sure. You're saying that they're doubling down on what they do, what they have done, and what worked for them in the past with the way that you have seen their roster forming.
Absolutely. And Rashad Bateman doesn't need to become a #1 because they have Mark Andrews. He's their #1. Rashad Bateman needs to be their #1 wide receiver, but he's not their #1 passing option. Absolutely, Greeny. They are going to go back and say, this is who we are, and this is when we are at our. I went on this show in 2019 27 times and did touchscreens and said, no one in the league can match up with these guys personnel-wise, and they were incredibly difficult to stop. They lost that playoff game because they went down 14-0 and had 7 drops. It wasn't because they weren't diversified enough in their passing game.
There is a lot of ramifications to that projection, including fantasy and other considerations. How about coming out of Baltimore? Let's go back to the negotiation piece of this. You said there's some hope that in this little interim, maybe they get something done. Is there a sense that they will?
I think there's, if you ask people around this situation, which way would you bet? They would say, yeah, something probably gets done.
They have a deal done in 2 weeks.
But the same people would have said the same thing a year ago.
Right.
So it's a unique situation. It's going to be a massive deal. He should make more money than all these guys, except, I guess, Aaron Rodgers, because he's the only other one on this list that has an MVP trophy. He's got 4 of them. But, yeah, I think everybody knows where the numbers have to come in. It's a matter of structure. It's a matter of guarantees and working all that out, and they're complex deals.
How, if at all, Mike T., in your experience as a general manager for 2 different teams, can this affect them? Which is to say, this continuing to hover over them for the next 13 days and then potentially for the next 100 and whatever after that.
Greeny, it's destabilizing. He's the most important person in the entire franchise. You don't want your franchise quarterback going into the last year of his contract. It's always about your head coach and quarterback. Now, do I think it's going to impact Lamar? No, I think Lamar is a professional, and he has a way about him that it doesn't seem to impact him. But everybody else is going to say, what's going on with your quarterback? What's going on with his contract?
Quickly, you're not worried about it.
I don't think this has any negative impact on that organization. Nope. The way they are run, top to bottom, their head coach, and who the quarterback is, it has 0 negative impact on them.
Fair enough. But I did want to make sure we had one moment to show you this, because it's one thing to be talking about the Ravens and their potential MVP quarterback, and then it's another to be talking about the Richmond Flying Squirrels and their catcher, Brett Auerbach. I want you to see the effort made by the catcher here as he goes flying. Oh! What do you think of that, Orlovsky?
The Richmond Flying Catchers.